Hello friends. So today we will discuss on Azure Bastion. So what is Azure Bastion? As you know, Azure Bastion is a service you deploy that lets you connect to a virtual machine using your browser and the Azure portal or via the native SSH or RDP client already installed on your local computer. The Azure Bastion service is a fully platform managed PaaS service that you provision inside your virtual network. It provides secure and seamless RDP or SSH connectivity to your virtual machine directly from the Azure portal over TLS. When you connect via Azure Bastion, your virtual machine don't need a public IP address, agent, or a special client software. Bastion provides secure RDP and SSH connectivity to all of the VM in the virtual network in which it provisioned. Using Azure Bastion protects your virtual machine from exposing RDP or SSH port to the outside world while still providing secure access using RDP or SSH. So, what are the key benefits of Azure Bastion? So, there are a lot of key benefits if we are using Azure Bastion. First one is RDP or SSH. You can get to the RDP and SSH session directly to the Azure portal using a single click seamless experience. No public IP required for VMs. You don't need a public IP address on your virtual machine. You can access your virtual machine via Azure Bastion, right? So, another one is no need to manage energy. We don't need to apply NSG to the Azure Bastion subnet because Azure Bastion connects to your virtual machine over private IP, right? Next one, no need to separate manage of Bastion. Azure Bastion is a fully managed platform PaaS service from Azure that is hardened internally to provide you a secure RDP SSH connectivity. Next one, protection against port scanning. Your VMs are protected against port scanning by rugged and malicious user because you don't need to expose the VM to the internet. Hardening not required like jump server. Azure Bastion sits at the perimeter of your virtual network, so you don't need to worry about hardening of each of the VMs of your Azure virtual network. Right. Next one is host scaling. Azure Bastion support manual host scaling. You can configure the number of host instances in order to manage the number of concurrent RDP or SSH session that Azure Bastion can support. Increasing the number of host instances let Azure Bastion manage more concurrent session. Decreasing the number of instances decreases the number of concurrent support session. Azure Bastion supports up to 50 host instances. This feature is available for the Azure Bastion standard SKU only. So there are two SKU Azure Bastion support, that is basic and standard. There are a lot of features if we are having the standard SKU, but let's understand what is the difference between basic and SKU standard features. So basic SKU having only connect to target VM and peered virtual networks, access Linux VM private keys in Azure Key Vault, connect to Linux VM using SSH and Windows VM using RDP, Kerberos authentication and VM audio output. These are the basic SKU features. If we are going to standard SKU, including the basic SKU, we are having a lot of feature like shareable link, connect to VM using a native client, connect to VM via IP address, host scaling, specify custom inbound ports, connect to Linux VM using RDP, connect to Windows VM using SSH, upload or download files, disable copy or paste. Uh, these are the features. And now you are having the question when I use Azure Bastion. So these are the key parameters you determine whether a jump box or Azure Bastion is better option to remotely manage your organization Azure resources. First one is security. Azure Bastion doesn't expose RDP or SSH on its public IP, unlike a jump box. Azure Bastion supports only TLS protected connections from the Azure portal. With Azure Bastion, you don't need to configure NSG to help secure traffic flow. Second one is ease of management. Azure Bastion is fully managed PaaS service. It's not a VM like a jump box which requires a regular update. You don't need a client or agent to use Azure Bastion, nor do you need to apply patches or updates to it. You also don't need to install or maintain any other softwares on management console. Third one is integration. You can integrate Azure Bastion with other native security services in Azure, such as Azure Firewall. This feature is not available in Jump Server, right? So um, you need to keep a note. You deploy Azure Bastion per virtual network or peer virtual network rather than per subscription or per account or per VM, right? Next one is Azure Bastion pricing. Obviously, if you would like to see the section for the pricing, you should go for Azure pricing calculator. But we have some keywords like Azure Bastion pricing is a combination of hourly pricing based on SKU and instances plus data transfer rate. Hourly pricing starts from the moment Bastion is deployed, regardless of outbound data users. These are the references I will mention in description as well. So thanks all of you for watching. Keep subscribe, keep comment, and like and share my videos. Thanks a lot.